Good morning. Please stand. Join me for Morning is Broken, number 38.
Thank you for that beautiful start to our morning. Madeline, Maura, appreciate it. Welcome everybody to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and live justly. Welcome to each and every one of you. As always, we embrace all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences. This includes those of you who are in the room with us, as well as those of you who are live streaming with us this morning as well, or perhaps this afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. So great to have all of you with us as well. Wanted to make a couple of quick announcements today. One, we're still looking for volunteers to help staff our Pride booth, which is going to be Pride weekend, which is, I think, Saturday and Sunday, the 8th and 9th. Is that correct? Yeah. So there's a sign-up sheet in the back at the table with a colorful flag on it. So if you want to participate in that, we'd much appreciate it. Also, let you know that we're having our church annual meeting on June 19th, which will be, June 9th, which will be 2 weeks from now. And that'll be following this service, so probably about 12:30 we'll get started. We do need a quorum of voters, so if you are a voting member and would please be here for that, it would be much appreciated too, so we can conduct our church business. I also want to recognize that it is Memorial Day today. This is a holiday that began shortly after the Civil War to recognize those who had lost their lives during the war, and over the years has evolved to help us remember others who've passed away, including beloved family members that we go and visit on Memorial Day as well. And I hope that we're remembering all of the people that have been lost in wars, people that are being lost in wars today who may not necessarily be in the military, who deserve to be remembered, so that perhaps one day we'll wake up from the madness of war, make it illegal, and have no more such activity on the earth. But it is important to remember Memorial Day for a lot of reasons. So let's take a moment now to greet one another. You can do so by moving about the room if you'd like, or if you're live streaming, send somebody a text. I got one from somebody earlier this morning. Man, you guys are energized this morning. It must be all those photons out there, huh? Solar power. Well, there'll be more opportunity to visit, as always, during our social hour, so please do stay around for that. But let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
For our opening reflection, I offer the words of transcendentalist, philosopher, author, and Unitarian Henry David Thoreau, who, in his book Civil Disobedience, wrote of responding to an injustice. If the injustice is part of the necessary friction of the machine of government, let it go, let it go. Perchance it will wear smooth. Certainly the machine will wear out. But if it is of such a nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then I say, break the law. Let your life be a counter-friction to stop the machine. What I have to see, at any rate, is that I do not lend myself to the wrong which I condemn.
Please stand, join me for What Wondrous Love, number 18. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, what wondrous love is this, oh my soul. What wondrous love is this that
We'll now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. We begin on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that part of the world who are being impacted by the war and violence there, as well as the people of Israel and the Palestinian people who are being impacted by the horrible violence going on there, particularly our brothers and sisters in Gaza. Also want to kindle a candle of care today for all of those millions being impacted by climate change related disasters, be they tornadoes, the mudslides, the coming hurricanes, the fires in Canada. Difficult times for a lot of people on our planet, people and species both, so we keep a candle lit, reflecting our concern and compassions. Let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Sweet is the day of sacred rest. No mortal care shall seize my breast. Oh, may my heart in tune be found, like David's harp of solemn sound. Oh, may my heart in tune be found, like David's harp of solemn sound. Then shall I share a glorious part, when grace hath well refined my heart, and fresh supplies of joy are shed, like holy oil to cheer my head, and fresh supplies of joy are shed, like holy oil to cheer my head. Then shall I see and hear and know all I desire and wish below, and every power find sweet employ in that eternal world of joy, and every power find sweet employ in that eternal world of joy.
Thank you all so much. It's beautiful. It is now time for our story for all ages. If anybody wants to come forward of any age, are you going to be the lone wolf? Oh, you guys aren't coming forward today? Okay, that's all right. I appreciate your courage. Of course, you're an actor anyway, aren't you? You've been in some stage plays, so you don't mind being in front of an audience. Just not today. Well, that's all right. But I'm glad you came forward, and you can sit wherever you want. Let's see who's come with us today. Oh my gosh, look who it is. It is Not from Noth. You're back. How's it going, Not? Greetings, earthlings. Or as we like to say on Noth. Yes, that's right. When you were here just a couple of weeks ago, you told us that everything you do on your planet is the opposite of what we do on ours. Is that still correct? That is correct. We don't go to school until we are old. We let dinner get cold before we eat it. And we drink coffee just before we're dead. Okay, well, that is the opposite of what we do around here mostly. So you also told us that Nothling language is completely meaningless. Yes, on Earth you use words to express meaning. On Noth, words mean nothing. Okay, well, strange as it seems, you also said that you never have any wars on your planet. Is that also true? Since nobody ever says anything meaningful, there are never any disagreements. Okay, well, I noticed that you were once speaking in the past tense. Is that still true? Have things changed on Noth? After visiting your planet, I decided to return to Noth and say something meaningful. What did you say? I told them I like Star Trek better than Star Wars. Understandable. And what was their response? We've been fighting ever since. Oh my gosh. Fighting over a TV show and a movie, that's terrible. So I imagine with your superior technologies, war must be devastating on your planet. We don't have any weapons on Noth. No weapons on Noth. Well, that sounds pretty good. Then how do you fight your wars? We call each other names. I see. That doesn't sound so bad. You should hear some of the names. Just yesterday, I told a Star Wars fan, I see, I don't understand Nothling, but that sounds pretty bad. Well, it's okay, because she answered. Oh, again, I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty harsh. Yes, another said it was uncalled for. Your mother, you told your mother. Or you and your mother are calling each other names now? Sadly, she has chosen Star Wars over Star Trek, which all sentient beings know is the greatest TV show in the entire galaxy. Okay, I agree. But calling people names just because they like different things it really isn't necessary. It's not? No, it's not. Who's there? All right. I said knock. Okay. Good, because we don't laugh at jokes on Noth. You don't laugh at jokes? No, we cry. Of course, the opposite. Some people cry at my jokes, then I'd laugh. Yes. Well, war is no laughing matter, even if it is a war of just calling people names. People have all sorts of differences, which you're going to have to deal with if you're going to continue having meaningful conversations. Did you just call me a name? No. I think you did. But listen, if you want to say something really meaningful, I think you should go back to your planet and you should tell your people there's no sense calling each other names over differences of opinion. There's quite enough room in the galaxy for people who love Star Trek and Star Wars, not really, as well as lots of other differences. Well, since you put it that way, I'd like to take back what I just said. What did you just say? Okay, it's okay, I think. I wasn't offended. But now I want you to please go back to Noth and make peace. After all, I feel like I'm a little bit responsible for the war since I was the one who encouraged you to start saying meaningful things. Yes, Naitito blame you for it. They blame me for it? Yes, they call you a... Whoa, watch your language. We'll see you next time, Noth. Thank you. Oh, yeah, we're going to sing our children to
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
For today's meditation, I invite you into a state of repose. Make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if you like, and breathe slowly, deeply, and mindfully. Reflect on the words of Baptist minister, political philosopher, and civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. An individual who breaks the law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for the law.
Oh, you never get the memo, and you never can rehearse. You can make it through the bad times, but it always might get worse. And a stranger's smile just might get you through the day. Don't put your light under a bushel basket. Don't keep good news all to yourself. When your brain is full, you're bound to pass it. You gotta let it shine. Well, the good things don't come easy. This world ain't quite fair. Nobody gets the same thing. Everybody gets a share. And the share that we get might just leave us a bushel basket. Don't keep good news all to yourself. When your plate is full, you're about to pass it. Gotta let it shine. Well, it's always raining somewhere, and today I guess it's here. You never get to know just when the skies are clear. And the sun that we need, we must find it in ourselves. Don't put your light under a bushel basket. Don't keep good news all to yourself. When your plate is full, you're bound to pass it. Gotta let it shine. Put your light under a bushel basket. Don't keep good news all to yourself. When your plate is full, you're bound to pass it. Gotta let it shine.
Thank you all so much. That's just incredible talent today. We really appreciate you being here and sharing it with us. And a good companion to my sermon, Crimes of Compassion, because I think this is really a sermon about the pressures to keep our light under the bushel that society often places upon us. So an important message in song as well. For example, most of you know Charlie Chaplin as Hollywood's most beloved and famous silent film star, but the motion picture that caused his career and popularity to take a downturn was a film with sound, The Great Dictator, released in 1940. Troubled by the global rise of militarism and nationalism, Chaplin wanted to make a movie poking fun of Adolf Hitler by turning him into a joke. But making such a comedy in the midst of a world war was discouraged by some and risky for Chaplin. Nevertheless, the Hitler look-alike moved forward with the project, later explaining, "I was determined to go ahead, for Hitler must be laughed at." The Great Dictator was an unprecedented box office hit and went on to receive 5 Academy Award nominations, including for Best Picture and Best Actor. U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill both loved the film, but it also led audience to take a different view of Chaplin, who, for the first time, used this medium and his fame to express his own political opinions, which were made clear in his very personal and serious speech at the movie's end. And I'm going to present it here in its entirety. "I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there is room for everyone. And the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We've developed speed, but we've shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us with want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The airplane and the radio have brought us all closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, the dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful and to make life a wonderful adventure. Then, in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite. Amen. And with these words, the great dictator showed that the world that its impish, innocent, comedic, entertaining little tramp had grown up to become a man with ideas and values of his own. Despite its box office success, Chaplin may have been better off had he simply remained silent. He was known for his silence, appreciated for his silence, loved for his silence, but everything began to change once he began to speak aloud. Although McCarthyism hadn't quite yet arisen, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover was troubled by Chaplin's political positions and used the FBI to take advantage of some of the star's personal problems to publicly smear his reputation, including indicting him with crimes in a case with so little evidence that it was eventually thrown out of court. Despite the damage to his reputation, Chaplin went on to make other films that also expressed his political views, including his opposition to capitalism and the proliferation of nuclear weapons, which he called the most horrible invention of mankind. These sentiments were made clear in his 1947 film, Monsieur Verdot, which drew boos at its premiere and was later boycotted. It's horrible, to call for peace and non-destruction. What a terrible thing. Boo! We can't show that movie. By then, McCarthyism was in full force, and Chaplin was accused of being a communist, charges which he denied, although he did support groups promoting Soviet and American friendships. Ooh. Though he was never brought up before the House Un-American Activities Committee, the FBI considered him, in its own report, documented report, a threat to national security, and wanted him deported from the U.S., given that he was officially a British citizen. The government's attempt to do so failed, but in 1950, after Chaplin and his family were on a trip to Europe, his re-entry permit was denied. His films were shunned. He became a pariah in the U.S. and would not return again for over 20 years in his 80s, when, with much trepidation, he was invited to receive a Special Academy Award. He was for a long time nearly erased from American culture and exiled from its society because he tried inspiring us to be our best by loving all of humanity, having an economy that works for everybody, and ending the threat of nuclear holocaust. What a devil he was. No wonder the government went after him. There have been and are many Charlie Chaplins in the world. And since I've spoken so long about his saga, let's just use him as a placeholder for all those who have been similarly persecuted, exiled, and maligned for opposing authoritarianism and cruelty in the name of tolerance and compassion for all people everywhere. The dominant religion in our culture, Christianity, is supposed to be based on the idea that God is love and that we must, as Jesus said, love one another. Yet how much opposition there is toward those who truly promote such love, by which I mean promoting human welfare and individual flourishing and freedom. Opposition towards those who, like Chaplin, call upon us to fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. You know those the authorities call threats to our national security. Like Jesus, who was himself executed by the Roman authorities for his subversive teachings about universal love and nonviolence. I often say we're not a Christian nation. I wish we were. Too many are ready to demonize and belittle those who call for genuine love and compassion. They give us derogatory names like bleeding hearts, lefties, tree huggers, even queer, for choosing to love whomever we want rather than only those society says we can. Sometimes they even accuse us and try us for crimes calling us traitors and sympathizers. Sympathizers. Sympathy. Simply for, again, doing as Jesus instructed, loving our enemies, calling us slurs over the centuries like Indian lover, N lover, race traitor. How can we become a just and compassionate society when we are taught that love and sympathy are betrayals, perversions, crimes? How, when we are so ready to forcibly remove those protesting violence against others from their own campuses, or worse, to turn dogs and fire hoses and guns on them, can we call ours a Christian nation or any other kind of moral or loving nation at all? Today, even as we witness the unmitigated and indiscriminate killing and torment of thousands of innocent civilians in Gaza, we resort to name-calling, demonization, and criminalization of those who refuse to turn such horror into a silent picture. Anti-Semitic, terrorist, pro-Hamas, or even the mildest of accusations, pro-Palestinians. Pro-Palestinian. What a sin. What an evil. Some individuals among these thousands of passionate demonstrators may say things that make us cringe and that all of us should rightly disagree with, but as a whole, what they are is pro-human and truly pro-life. Truly pro-life. Truly pro-life. And that is their crime. I'm not referring to the narrowly focused definition of pro-life held by those on the far right who like to disguise and compensate for their disdain of life by dressing up as champions of unborn people while ignoring and even justifying violence and injustice against the living. If they really cared, we would have some serious gun control changes in this country. I'm referring to those who are willing to risk their own lives and livelihoods, begging and pleading for the lives and well-being of others, even those who the status quo forbids us to love, those they swear are our enemies. God forbid that any of us should dare again, as Jesus instructed, to actually love our enemies. And again, love is not a sentiment. It's not a feeling of affection. It is just not wanting those individuals to suffer and not doing something to make them suffer. Caring, just wanting people to be able to unfold. I mean, I think about, one person in this country running for president who I find personally disgusting. I don't want him to suffer. I want him to fully unfold as a human being. Wouldn't that be wonderful? To realize his powers of empathy and compassion. To realize his connection to everyone. That's love. It's not a feeling. It's a way of being. And I don't mean to myself demonize those who demonstrate such hypocrisy. It's not intentional on their part. They feel certain that their opinions are right and that those who oppose them must be wrong. And they equate the notions of being right with being righteous and wrong with being unrighteous. And the righteous are always justified in doing whatever they must, whatever they can, to stamp out evil. Or so they believe. And everybody wants to be right. Everybody thinks we are right. I think I'm right. And from an evolutionary perspective, this is probably because, like most animals, we are wired to avoid risk. Being wrong can get us killed, especially in our primitive human state, when we were dealing with real predation. Making the wrong decision could get us killed. So the probability of staying alive, at least instinctively to this day, goes up if we repeat behaviors that haven't gotten us killed so far. All creatures are thus creatures of habit. It is their habits, their instinctive and repetitive behaviors that largely define what a species is. These habits are biologically reinforced, at least in many creatures, including humans, with dopamine. That's a neurotransmitter that causes us to feel good. Repetition feels good. As a 2015 National Institute of Health article explains, dopamine plays a vital role in reward and movement regulation in the brain. Right? I mean, movement regulation. We're rewarded for which direction we head with the feeling of pleasure. It's analogous to the reins on a horse or a horse-drawn carriage unconsciously guiding a species in the safest direction. The definition of safety in this case being based on the probability that repeating behaviors that haven't gotten us killed so far are the safest bet. Right? There's still a chance there that it's a really bad move, but so far it's worked, so let's not try anything new. From the standpoint of inductive reasoning based on probabilities, this is a pretty good strategy, until it isn't. In the long run, however, repetition may be the very thing that gets an organism killed. Where I place a mousetrap, for example, is predicated upon a mouse's predictable behavior. I know where and what time it's going to show up. That's where I set the trap. A humane trap, by the way. Catch and release in somebody else's backyard. Today, our entire planet is in peril because of our species' repetitive behavior. We've known for more than a century about the greenhouse gas effect, but too many of us, particularly conservatives, are hyper-resistant to changing our ways. They actually fear changing themselves more than the disastrous planetary changes happening right before their eyes. This is so because changing our ways doesn't feel good. It feels dangerous. Doing something different feels scary. We're not getting that dopamine rush when we think about changing our ways. Even if reason and evidence tell us we're wrong, that our habits have become the real danger, the reins guiding us keep pulling us in that same old direction. Right, not left. We're compelled to keep repeating ourselves, no matter what, the entire time feeling that we are absolutely right and therefore righteous. Our species, dumb as it often continues to behave, is also highly intelligent. We have thoughts as well as instincts. We can reflect rather than simply reflex. we can take hold of the reins for ourselves and consider the best course of action, rather than being driven by irrational fears and habitual behaviors. As that NIH article further explains, in the reward pathway, the production of dopamine takes place in the ventral tegmental area in nerve cell bodies. From there, it is released into the nucleus accumbens and prefrontal cortex. In layman's terms, and I'm a layman, this pleasant neurotransmitter begins in the same area of the brain, again responsible for pleasure, reward, and addiction, and that is directed to the larger part of our human brain, the prefrontal cortex. In short, feeling right goes straight to our heads. When it does, not only to particular behaviors, but addicted to our repetitive thoughts and beliefs and ideas. That's why we cling to ideas and fight over ideas. Just as if these ideological habits were habitat. Particularly so of conservatives. I'm not picking on conservatives, but that's what the word means. To be conservative in how we move forward. Who take pride in their stubborn unwillingness to change their ways. Which again is why they are conservatives. They're proud of clinging to the ways of the past because, again, believing we are right feels really good. Another way to look at it is that evolution has improved our chances of survival by getting us hooked on repetition. As biologist Rupert Sheldrake once said, things are the way they are because they were the way they were. Things are the way they are because they were the way they were. That's how we develop neural pathways, repeating the same thoughts or behaviors or experiences over and over, causing neural pathways, the same way we beat a path into the ground, by continually walking in that same direction. So we're addicted to repetitive behaviors as a thinking species, to repetitive ideas. And like any addict, we cling with ferocity to those behaviors and ideas that will give us our next dopamine rush. Make us feel really good. You ever know somebody who knows all the answers, the know-it-alls? They can't wait to talk to you because they got to get it out, right? It just feels so good. I'm right. I got to share this with you, this truth. I know it all. Oh, that feels good. Thank goodness there's none of those around here. When this is the case, unconscious and instinctive forces are pulling the reins, even though we think that we are in charge, right? We don't get these unconscious forces motivating us. We think that we're doing what we determine and believing what we choose, what really makes sense. And anyone who says otherwise, suggesting that there are better ways and other truths, becomes a threat that must be eliminated. Like unconscious cells, our society collectively attacks this threat by attacking new or different ideas as if it were fending off a virus of the mind, it's even been called. But I'm not explaining all of this today to make a case for greater tolerance in the world, as important as tolerance is. The point of today's sermon is not about being more open-minded, but about how collectively threatened we feel by those reminding us of what we should already know, that we must be compassionate toward others. That, as Chaplin said, We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this room there is world there is room for everyone. Jew, Gentile, black man, white, along with Palestinians and Ukrainians and liberals and conservatives and criminals and outcasts. And anyone else we self-righteously determine is the evil other. Everybody deserves dignity but them. The point I'm making today is that throughout human history, society has habitually demonized those calling for compassion. It's not just a difference of opinion. People calling on us to be kind to one another are being demonized. This has happened again because we fear going in new directions, even with our thoughts. And because of our own addictive neurochemistry that causes certainty and self-righteousness to feel really good. Today, Charlie Chaplin is an example of all those who, like him, were maligned and persecuted for calling upon society to do the right thing. But how do we know what the right thing is? We don't. We don't. Oh, no questions. I mean, you can have questions, but I'm not going to answer them right now. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask a question. Okay. I mean, it's okay to ask questions, but just not while I'm in the middle of it here. The truth is we don't know what is right, not with certainty. Morality is a very complicated and controversial subject that even ethicists disagree on. It's a perennial problem, which means it can't be answered. Yet this cannot mean it should be based upon our instincts and emotions, not upon our neurochemistry, our whims, nor on our denial of the dignity of those who don't look or act or think like we do. We must learn about and consider the field of ethics and determine in advance of any situation what shall be our moral guide. If you haven't done that yet, if you're not able to articulate your ethic and why, and argue for that ethic, why you think that's the best ethic, get on it. And in so doing, we wrest the reins from our ancient biology and give it to our prefrontal cortex, where again our executive function and empathy are in charge. Where executive function and empathy are making our decisions for us. Moral behavior must be reflective, not reflexive. It must be broad, not narrow. It must be selfless, not selfish. Isn't it interesting how when we believe we're righteous, whatever righteous cause we're fighting for happens to be good for us? Right? We don't fight for the right thing if it's wrong, if it's going to be wrong for us, right? Just coincidentally, I happen to be on the right side of things, and it's going to benefit me. That's instinctive thinking. For me, as I have often said, Morality ought to be rooted in the human flourishing and individual unfolding. This is what we call the humanistic ethic. First expressed by Immanuel Kant during the Enlightenment as never treat others as a means to your ends, but as an end within themselves. That was the categorical imperative as it was first expressed. Then it was revamped during the French Revolution as the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, and articulated again in the 20th century by my favorite, Erich Fromm, who said, "The principle that good is what is good for humanity and evil is what is detrimental to humanity, the sole criterion of ethical value being human welfare, and that the unfolding and growth of every person should be the aim of all social and political activities." That's a mouthful, but... And by the way, this is not anthropocentric, it's humanistic. It recognizes our relations not only to others, but to the earth and to other beings. We don't exist in a vacuum, and we can't be well in a vacuum, and we can't have fully unfolded if we don't have empathy. If we're a malignant narcissist, like some people running for office, we have not fully unfolded. Charlie Chaplin put it even more simply when he reminded us that you have the love of humanity in your hearts. That love is the humanistic ethic. And this is what ought to motivate our actions rather than, as he also said, the bitterness of those who fear human progress. I've also mentioned the sayings of Jesus, whose ethic was also clearly humanistic. Love one another, including our enemies. And that's a lot easier said than done, which is why a man whose good news proclaimed that we are all God's children, including especially those who have been outcast and demonized, was soon worshipped. The narrative was flipped, and he was soon worshipped as God's only child. Right? He taught that we're all God's children, and he was worshipped as God's only child. How convenient. By claiming only one person has such distinction, or one religion, or one nation, or one political party, people gain the excuse to disdain and disregard the dignity and even lives of all who are not among the elect. The elect religion, nation, party, especially those who dare to remind us of what is truly righteous, compassion and care for all of humanity, and of what is truly real, the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of people everywhere, not the imaginary borders and boundaries we draw and erect that keep us segregated and apart. Those are not real. Our DNA and our genetical connection is. It's a physical reality. As the great Sufi poet Rumi once said, out beyond ideas of wrong-doing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. I believe that this field has a name. It's called love and compassion for one another. Not only is it a place where we can meet, it is the only place where we can meet. Thank you. I saw a couple hands up. I'll take them in the receiving line, okay? Good. Thank you.
Thanks. Please stand Join me for our last hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, number 1008. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
For our benediction, I offer the words of civil rights leader and American politician John Lewis. Speak up, speak out, get in the way, get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and help redeem the soul of America. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.